Alright, so as I'm sure you may have noticed, Doors recently released a teaser showing off the upcoming journal feature that is going to be released to the game. A feature which would act as a logbook for the player to document every single entity they come across in Doors. Now, I've already made a video going over the journal, however I actually missed a bunch of secret, very important information relating to the new feature which I want to discuss here. From the secret entities you'll be able to come across in the journal, to the mysterious bookmarks on its design which nobody seems to know the true purpose of, we'll be going over all the secrets you may have missed in this new Doors teaser. One of these secrets may be a little controversial too, so make sure you stick around and be prepared for what that is, as you may have some opinions about it. We have got a lot to discuss today, so with all of that being said, let's begin. Alright, so the first secret regarding the journal I want to discuss is definitively how players would unlock journal entries. It's implied that whenever a player interacts with an entity, they'll receive a journal entry about that entity. However, how exactly would that play out? Do you need to die to the entity? Do you need to crucify it? How do you actually unlock journal entries? Well, here's what I've been able to deduce based on the teaser. Unlike Pressure's document system, Doors' journal is too small for single entries to be incrementally unlocked after multiple exposures to the entity, meaning that it's most likely a single event would have to occur for the entry to be unlocked. As for what that event is, I believe it's for directly surviving, combating, or just encountering an entity. For example, Rush's journal entry would be unlocked by hiding from them in a closet. Screech's would be unlocked by looking directly at them to combat their attack, and Snare's entry would likely be unlocked just by stepping on them, as that's really the only player interaction they have. Now, with that being said, there are some special cases I'd like to discuss. Given the storytelling potential of the journal, I believe that every single entity found in the main game would be present inside of it, including non-hostile ones. So how would the player go about getting those entries? Well, for something like Bob, Grampy, or El Goblino, their entry would likely be unlocked just by directly interacting with the character through their click prompts. Jeff and Louie's entry could likely be obtained by giving them gold or an item respectively, triggering their normal mechanics. Timothy and Jack's entries could be obtained just by encountering them, given how that's the only interaction they have with the player. Now, I bring up Jack for a very interesting reason. Jack is technically a very rare entity, only having a 1 in 2,000 spawn chance. However, they can be made more easily spawnable by triggering them to appear in closets. Now, there exists one entity in-game that has that same 1 in 2,000 spawn chance as Jack, but they can't be made more easily spawned. And that, as you may know, is Shadow. Shadow is essentially a carbon copy of Jack with a different design, only they can't spawn in closets. Now, given how, like I said, every entity will probably appear in the journal, as well as how the developers are not shy to adding very rare mechanics to the game, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Shadow did have a journal entry, which would have to be unlocked by encountering them, meaning completionists would have to completely naturally encounter a 1 in 2,000 chance event. This, of course, can be very controversial, as players who want to fully unlock the journal would have to find the rarest entity in the whole game to do so. On an unrelated note, though, it's also possible that the glitch fragment entities would also have their own journal pages as well. These aren't nearly as rare to spawn as Shadow, though, but encountering them could make for an interesting challenge that requires a bit of teamwork, given how glitch fragments can be forced to spawn in subfloors, as glitch takes the place of void, and encountering them multiple times forces a glitch fragment to spawn. Now, that's enough for secret entities being in the journal. Let's discuss one of the most mysterious aspects about this teaser itself, those being the bookmarks. Now, although it's entirely possible that these bookmarks serve no functionality at all and are purely just there for aesthetics, it's also possible they do affect the journal in some way. But how? Well, I think the bookmarks could act as a way for players to travel between categories of entities in the journal. With so many entities indoors, there will likely be a way to easily flip to one's page in the book, and clicking the bookmarks could just make that easier. It could work something like this. Clicking the red bookmark takes you to completely hostile entities like Rush. Clicking the yellow bookmark takes you to neutral entities, such as the Gloombats. The green bookmark could take you to passive entities such as Louie, and the blue bookmark could be for non-entity hazards such as Fire Damp. Now, this is mostly just speculation, but like I said, it is definitely possible for these bookmarks to serve a functional purpose and not just be for aesthetics. Moving on, let's discuss achievements associated with the journal. Now, contrary to popular belief, I don't think unlocking journal entries would be directly tied to earning achievements. For example, just because you own the achievement for surviving Rush doesn't mean you'll automatically unlock the journal entry for Rush when this journal feature releases. You may have to survive Rush again to obtain the entry. In fact, if that's true, it means we'll essentially have to play through every single floor and subfloor again to unlock every entry, which serves to boost the replayability of the game, as now we have the common goal of filling out the journal as we play. Additionally, on the topic of achievements, I wouldn't be surprised if a very rare or special badge existed for obtaining every single journal entry in the game. Given how much effort is being put into this feature, I mean, we're getting a ton of new lore as well as art, and that takes time to make. So I wouldn't be surprised if the developers encourage players to discover the journal by making it into an achievement. And that could require players to encounter Shadow, like I mentioned earlier, which could be a bit controversial. Lastly though, the final secret I want to mention regarding the journal involves its correlation to the upcoming rooms overhaul. As you may know, the next Doors update is going to completely revamp the rooms, and many players speculate that the journal will have some correlation to this update, given how it appears the book itself used to belong to some other figure before the player took it. A symbol on the journal's cover looks somewhat similar to a symbol seen in the room's overhaul leaks, so it's possible the two could be related. Now, logically speaking, I definitely don't think the journal would be locked behind completing the room's overhaul or anything like that. This feature will most likely be free for everyone to use upon first joining the game when the update arrives. However, the lore of the book itself could be expanded upon in the room's overhaul, so that is something you should keep in mind. It's also worth noting that the journal and the room's overhaul will likely release at the same exact time, which of course acts as another connection between the two, which could serve as greater lore implications, but I digress. Anyways, I am super excited for this journal feature, and those were just some other secret details I wanted to mention regarding this new teaser, which I didn't really get around to properly explaining in my initial video over the journal. Like I said, I can't wait for this update, as it provides a lot of new insight into the entities that we have never seen or heard of before. And as someone who, as you may know, is very invested in the story and lore of Doors, this will be quite telling and helpful for making theory videos which you guys can watch in the future. So, with all of that being said, let me know in the comments what you think of all this. What are your thoughts on the mysterious bookmarks in the journal? Do you think they'll just act as categories for you to browse through the entities quickly? Or do you think it'll serve a greater purpose? As well as, do you think we'll actually have to find Shadow to complete the logbook, or no? Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.